Hey guys, Jason Scudeleri with Classic Truck Performance. Got Ryan Manson here. What are we doing?
Well, Jay, we're gonna convert this 69 long bed Ford into a short bed today.
You know how many long beds are out there?
A lot.
A ton. So, up till now, you weren't able to even buy bedsides.
That's right. So there's a lot of long beds out there. Guys want short beds.
Yep.
It hasn't been an easy conversion to make because of that fact.
Yep.
You'd have to cut down the short bed, you'd have to cut down the frame. It was a ton of work.
Yep. Well, we're in luck. Golden Star finally came out with bedsides that are already shortened. So the only fabrication we really got to do is cut the frame.
That's right. The Golden Star sheet metal is basically OE replacement stuff. It's short bed bedsides, like you mentioned. We're also using a bed floor. We're going to assemble a whole bed this time. Header panel, tailgate, the whole 9 yards. So if you've got a long bed that's beat up, it's been used, you can replace the entire bed, do the short bed conversion, and head to the body shop.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's pull this old bed off first. Let's set that aside, and then we'll get to working on cutting the frame down.
Sounds good. Let's go.
So we're going to go ahead and pull the taillight buckets out and remove the taillight wiring. That way when we lift the bed up, we don't pull the wiring out with it.
Right. All right, so we got all the Golden Star sheet metal laid out. We got a pretty good game plan for that. But I think today the first thing we're gonna do is cut the frame.
Yeah, I think we need to get the frame down to short bed specs. We're gonna put the floor on it and then we'll assemble the bed. I think that's a good way to kind of tackle this project.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna use CPP's bed shortening kit. It's gonna take all the guesswork out. First thing we need to do is get the truck up on jack stands.
That's right, square it up, level it up, start cutting.
Let's do it. Right now I'm just leveling off the frame. Before we put the templates or start doing any cutting, we want to make sure everything's nice and level. That would be, I think, a driver. There's a passenger. And we got reference marks that we're going to line everything up with, and Ryan can show you exactly what he's doing.
So once we get it kind of on the frame rail, you can see there's an oval hole and a round hole that lines up perfectly with existing holes in the factory chassis.
I think there's one on the bottom too, so what we'll do is
there's one on the
we'll
bottom.
run a screw or a bolt through the top and bottom, keep everything kind of in place.
Yep.
We're just using the clamp so the back of this stays up against the frame while we're drilling. With all the holes drilled, we can have some fun with the Sawzall, and this is where you got to be 100% committed, because once you do the first cut, there's no going back. Are you committed?
Totally.
I'm committed. Let's cut. Alrighty. Now what?
Cut the next one.
There you go.
Great success.
We're going to use this part because this is going to be the rear section that we need to line up these two holes with the ones on the rear, show us where to relocate our bumper holes. Well, with it all cut up, let's see how all this goes back in. Go. So the good thing about this kit is it is bolted, but we definitely recommend welding it. But if you're not a welder, you can bolt it up and probably cruise it down to your muffler shop and they could probably weld it up for you. Well, with the C-channels in place on the cab side, I think it's about time we got the shortened end of the rear of the truck and slid it over the C-channels. So we gotta bring the center of the frame in a little bit. It sprung out a bit.
Where your hand is needs to come up to be parallel with that.
Yeah, you're right.
Which means the cab needs to come up
Yeah, why don't you try to jack the center under that cross member right there.
Yeah. That looks pretty close to me. How's your side look?
Yeah, it looks all right. We just need to...
Watch your fingers.
Go ahead.
There we go.
All right, so I'm gonna just measure and see how square we are. So here we're measuring at 83 inches exactly to the corner. And Ryan's screwing around with me right now. And look at that. We are within a 1/16 of an inch. All right, so we got our template on there. This is gonna show us where to cut the rear of the frame, relocate our bed bolt, and relocate our bumper bolts down here. I'm just marking these holes, so once I take this off, I can take my straight edge and put a mark there, here, here, and we can cut off the rear of the frame. So we're gonna go ahead and weld up the seam, and then we'll hit some of the areas on the C-channel that we installed, and we should be good to go. So we wrapped up all the welding, and as you can see here, we got this high quality fifth wheel that was welded in, and well, we're not gonna be doing any towing, so we're gonna take that out now and move on to the bed. So we're gonna go ahead and lay the bed floor on there, see how it fits, and we may assemble it on the truck. All right, so we've set the bed floor on, and we got this back panel in place. We've centered it up, put a reference line there. So we're gonna pop some holes in there. We're gonna spot weld everything. But before we even do that, we might put a bedside on.
Yeah, I think we should try to fit up a couple things and just start taking some measurements before we lock anything down.
Yeah, and bedside, we should get this at where we need it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start assembling the hardware for our tailgate. That way we can get this area all squared up. We're just gonna put these in loosely because all this stuff needs to be adjusted once we get the tailgate on.
You gotta put it on the tailgate and then...
Nope, we gotta go like this. I remember now.
Yeah.
It just came back to me. And then go down.
Okay, hold on. I got it. You got it?
Yeah. Okay, go up with it. Okay, come down. Come down with it.
Yep.
Okay, now you can do whatever you want. Put it where you like it.
Well.
Up. Okay, I'm in. And down.
And then back the other way.
Here we go. We're just gonna use the ratchet strap on top to get the lines right. We'll make sure everything's squared up. Just because the lines are right doesn't mean everything's square. So once this is done, then we can start taking measurements.
That looks pretty good.
Yours is too much in, mine's too much out. No, actually mine's in too much too. Pretty good. That looks pretty close. There we go. So we got everything mocked up and square, and we're happy with the gaps. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna leave some reference marks where we wanna punch some holes so we can spot weld the bed back together after we take it apart.
Ready? Watch your fingers. I didn't bring Band-Aids, I forgot. Alright, let's put it over here, yeah? Set it down.
On a piece of cardboard. Here, hold it right here. I'll get this cardboard.
So Jay, you're punching holes in this panel, but it's not to put screws in. What are we gonna do?
We're gonna go back and spot weld all this stuff in there. Hit it with the old MIG welder and grind them flat. You won't know they're there.
Like the factory did.
Exactly. So I'm gonna go ahead and clamp this with a couple clamps before I screw it. And the reason we're gonna screw a lot of these areas in is because we're still missing 4 pieces of the floor, and we don't know if we're gonna have to go in or out or, you know, get those fitted right. So temporarily we'll screw them in, and then we'll pull the screws out when we know we're good to go and just weld the holes up. Hold on, you didn't grind this upper edge, bud.
No, I didn't.
There you go, a little bit better. We're attaching the wheel tubs to the bed floor, but we want to make sure everything's level. We'll clamp it in place, put a couple screws in there. So here's the panel that's gonna go in here. It's already been broke all the way around. And what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna put a bunch of holes in here and I'm gonna spot weld everything in. Okay. All right. So when you're doing this, I always start in the center. That way I know I'm penetrating the piece of metal behind this one, and then I'll do a small circle and fill it in. Well, that's the last weld on the bed. You know, Golden Star Classic Auto Parts just is a game changer right now with these short beds. It's just gonna kill it. There's so many of these long beds are out there, and I gotta be honest with you, this bed actually went together really nice, really square. Very impressed with the sheet metal. Even the 4 pieces I installed today fit really nice. When you're ready to order your sheet metal, make sure you visit goldenstarauto.com. And if you want to check out the full article, make sure you visit classictruckperformance.com.